Hi, everyone. My name is Sarah Matthew, and I am with Carnegie as a Slate enrollment implementation strategist. And I'm here today to talk about all things slate.org. This presentation is a mashup of two that I had the opportunity and privilege to be a part of throughout the summit season this year. And so this is taken from our virtual session, Slate.org, Your Next Recruitment Cycle, as well as our in-person session called Slate.org Mythbusters, which is what you'll be really seeing on screen today. But a lot of the content is the same. And so we'll be sharing a lot of that information and what we found throughout this process. These presentations would not be possible without my collaborators, who are not here today to present on this material with me, but who did do most of the work of compiling and researching what they experience are with Slate.org. And so I worked with Laura Greco and Julie Carrick of the Episcopal Academy, as well as Tanya Idalot of Kent Denver School and Julia Ross from Quinnipiac University. So we have lots of different great perspectives that were brought into this presentation, and a lot of the work that you'll see here today is because of them. So to start, we took this mindset of myth busting to indicate the reasons why some institutions may not want to utilize slate.org. And so we found most common myths related to that, and we tried to myth bust them as much as we possibly could. So, the first general misconception that we've heard from institutions is that counselors just don't use slate.org. And so there's no real reason to put the effort into setting it up and maintaining it. To give some general context and background about slate.org, it was established in 2017. And as of now, there are over 30,000 counselors engaged on the platform, nearly 500 colleges that are sharing decisions, over 350,000 documents uploaded at this point because this data was gathered in May of 2025, and 7.4 million applications processed. That's a lot. So people are clearly using the platform. This chart on the right-hand side here just shows you the breakdown of types of counselors that are currently on the platform. So there's a majority of public high school counselors using the platform, but you'll see that breakdown as well. We also were able to gather information about counselor logins from Technolutions to indicate just how much this platform has grown even in the past 3 years. So you'll see here that great increase in numbers just to show that this platform really is being utilized by your counselors. Tanya from Kent Denver School put together this incredible display of how high school counselors, especially her, are using slate.org throughout their application season. This breaks down the standard time frame as they're working with their students to help them through the application season and process. And you can see here down at the bottom just how slate.org is impacting their use and how they're using it. So slate.org is being used and year round throughout the application cycle. The primary usage of slate.org is to monitor that student application status, figure out where students need some more support in order to complete their applications, where they need help with their next steps in that process, and also being able to check college decision releases. This is really important in indicating and helping students understand their next steps, providing access and equity to the students who need a little bit more support. Additional usages can be seen here of lots of different ways that people are using this platform. Making sure students are meeting deadlines, making sure that you're helping students submit the materials to help you in the process get those applications completed much quicker. Tanya also put together some incredible walkthrough videos of what slate.org looks like from the counselor perspective. And so those will be shared via a QR code towards the end of this presentation. So I would really recommend utilizing those and seeing exactly what that experience looks like and how she uses slate.org on the daily. As we mentioned, we took this Mythbusters approach to the slate.org sense. And so we had Laura and Julie put together an incredible survey to their high school counselors in their network to understand how they're using it, why they're using it, and just to gain more clarity about true counselor use. They also conducted a survey very similar in 2024, and they received over double the amount of responses that they did this year that they conducted the survey. And so people were eager to share their responses and their experience with Slate.org. From the 2024 survey, the rated their familiarity with Slate.org, and most indicated that they were familiar with Slate.org and that they check Slate.org very frequently. From the 2025 counselor survey, again, we had an increase of responses, and we wanted to better understand how that works and what college counselors wanted us to know. From these 600 counselors, this was understanding their caseload. So, who are we speaking to so that we can understand that, yes, private schools have that sense of privilege or an understood privilege of having different caseloads than public school counselors as well. And so, we want to understand how that impacts equity when it comes to Slate.org. As you can see in this 2025 survey as well, most people, again, feel very familiar with the system and the platform and are checking it on a regular basis. So not much has changed there. Again, here's that increase in numbers just to show you how many people are checking it daily. Less than 4% have never used Slate.org, and that's pretty substantial. How do they utilize Slate.org? We wanted to get a sense of how college counselors are using this. And they really are using it to check application statuses and student decisions. So clearly, we can myth bust that one. Counselors are using Slate.org. What we also hear from institutions many times as we're helping set Slate.org up with them is that we don't want to buy into it because setup just takes too long. I also wanted to conduct my own survey to understand from the institution perspective why people are utilizing Slate.org or why they aren't, and just their overall experience with that. So we conducted a survey, Julia and I, to understand that perspective. From our survey respondents, over half of them said that setup took an hour, and 22% said a few hours. The greatest challenge there was that there just simply is not enough documentation or understanding about the platform in general to make that setup happen. So if setup can take an hour, that's really not that much time. What we recommend is just keeping it simple. The easiest part about Slate.org is that it just takes a few clicks of a button to set up the system. You can always customize things later. The nice thing is Slate.org and Technolutions have provided suitcaseable links for you so that you can bring in some basic portal setup, have that set for you, and always come back later to customize further. But the most important thing is having something out there for your counselors to use. Also, utilize the community forums to connect with other users. The collaboration is key in making Slate.org more well-known, and people are eager to share their experience and what they've done to make Slate.org really useful and beneficial in their processes. So utilize that platform because it will be beneficial to you. Also, a note, right now in Slate.org, there isn't full counselor impersonation access. So it is difficult to understand that setup and how counselors are viewing Slate.org and interacting with it, which is why Tanya's videos are so helpful in seeing how they use it and what that platform looks like. So again, view those videos towards the end of the presentation with the QR code, and also just reach out to your fellow high school counselors and ask them, what are you seeing on Slate.org now that we've published some things? So here to myth bust that. Setup does not take a long time. It takes some time, of course, but not too much. We've also heard that institutions think that sharing decisions is too risky, and they can't do that with college counselors. So because we don't have that full impersonation access for counselors, it is difficult to see and understand what they're seeing. There may be some negative viewpoints about that confidentiality, trust, being the ones to share negative news first with the students. There is some hesitancy around that, but most of that comes from the idea that there isn't any easy counselor impersonation and ability to ensure that correct information is being displayed on your platform. And so that really goes back to Technolutions and Slate.org and making sure that we as a community are using the platform to inspire and invoke change so that we can get these features built for us. I just want to note that no one on our admission survey said that it was institutional policy to not share admission decisions. So it may be important to share this information if you can. If you can find a way to do it, share that information because as we saw at the beginning, counselors are using that information. And a reminder, slate.org is not a one size fits all. You can do some things, but not everything, right? You can choose what you want to share and how you want to share it. You can choose when decisions are shared with counselors. You can share how they're viewing decisions. So it's not mutually exclusive. You can opt to be on slate.org and share some information, but not everything. It is best to share as much information as you can because counselors, as you can see, overwhelmingly want to see decisions. But if you choose to opt out for whatever reason, make sure that you're still using the platform to some extent. Here are some insights from our counselors that we work with. Make friends with them, see what they're seeing, understand how they're using the platform, but also be intentional, clear, and consistent with how you're sharing things in slate.org. You do have the ability to customize some naming conventions in the system. And so make it clear what certain decision codes are, for example. When I first started working in admissions at an institution, there's so many decision codes that I had to wrap my mind around, understand the codes, the terminology. And so imagine how our high school counselors feel having to learn not just one institution's policies and codes for decisions, but numerous. So make it clear what these admission decisions are, how you're using them, and what they mean for that student. It's also just a lot of clicks for counselors to understand that. So as much as we can make it clear on the platform as possible, the better. Tanya's videos detail just how many clicks this takes and allow you to visualize how this information is not shared in maybe the best way and how it can be utilized better. If you're wondering even just how to get started, Julia set up an incredible resource with Scribe to allow you to have that step-by-step documentation and guidance on how to start sharing data, how to make those changes, and really take that step into slate.org. So application checklist does equal goals met. It is ultimately really good and helps you make your enrollment goals by sharing checklists and decisions with high school counselors on slate.org. For example, some students just don't understand what decisions mean. Some don't have as much access or experience with the college decision world and the application process. And so we're also helping them by helping college counselors. And so some students may not understand that a waitlist, for example, is not a deny. It just means, hey, you need to just wait, hold out hope, and see what happens next. So don't worry too much yet. And our counselors, by sharing that admission information, are able to counsel their students better and ultimately help you complete applications and meet your enrollment goals better. Number 3, we can myth bust that. Sharing decisions is not too risky. It's really good to share that information and help them do that. So our next myth is that slate.org only benefits counselors. So just to put this here back on the screen, slate.org is a partnership. 7.4 million applications were processed for completion in slate.org. And again, here are those numbers that show just how many people are using it. This is also on the high school side as well as the college side. So people are using it on both sides of the platform. And by helping college counselors process applications, they're helping you complete and meet those enrollment goals as we just discussed. Slate.org ultimately saves time for everyone. It streamlines the process, it simplifies submission of application materials, and it makes the phone calls that you're going to have to take with college counselors much less, right? They're going to be able to do exactly what they need to do in the platform for themselves. They can upload a resume for the student. They can upload that letter of recommendation for that student, and they don't have to be calling you asking, hey, how do I submit this material? How do I get this to you? It makes it a lot easier. When everyone's in sync, students win, and we can help them in this journey to be more accessible and more equitable. So, equity through slate.org. Transparency is critical in helping students understand how the application process works. The higher education sphere is always changing, and students have a hard time keeping up with that just as much as we do. So it's our job and our charge to help them through this process. And so with slate.org, it's just one way of removing an obstacle for students and helping them through that process by utilizing their high school counselors. So again, a reminder, counselors want the decision. It's all in the data. For them to see exactly what's going on by verified information in the system, they're going to be able to understand and counsel their students better so that they help them through the process. It allows college counselors to be better professionals. They ultimately will get better at understanding what needs to happen through the admission processes by understanding how you do it and utilizing slate.org. So it's very beneficial to starting to use slate.org. So of course, you might be wanting to know what's best practice when it comes to slate.org. Share as much information as you can, but make sure it's the relevant information. So this is a screenshot from a wonderful example from University of Tennessee of what their slate.org portal looks like. And you can see they're showing lots of really helpful information about the student, first choice major, second choice major, as well as some additional information that's critical in understanding how this platform can be beneficial. So myth busted again, slate.org benefits everybody. One other myth we always hear is that, okay, fine, setup might not take too much time, but it's too much to upkeep. We already have too much on our plates for cycle prep. We can't add another thing. I'm here to say that it actually might be worthwhile adding something else to your cycle prep checklist. I know you may have a number of things on that list, but all you have to do for slate.org is remove your old terms and rounds from the display. You're already doing that, right? You're already having to remove from queries. You're already having to remove from workflows. Just add that one additional item of removing it from the slate.org view as well. That's all you have to do. What you can also do, of course, in cycle prep is maintain your portal. Jump back in, see, can we export a different data point for college counselors to see? What can you make more customized year over year? But again, start simple. Review those sharing settings is really important as well because slate.org is constantly changing things. For example, there wasn't always the ability to change the display name for a decision code, but now there is. And so review those sharing settings to see what new features slate.org has rolled out to make your lives easier. And just keep in mind that this is an easier and more equitable system than having counselor phone calls and emails. So nearly all our survey respondents noted that the value of slate.org is increased access. So yes, it might be some upkeep, but it ultimately helps increase equity and access. So it's manageable upkeep, right? It's not adding 7 things to your cycle prep checklist, it's adding 1 or 2. Now, for a final myth is that slate.org is perfect. It's a perfect platform that we're here to speak about and share about why you should be using it. But we're here to say it's actually not. This is one myth we may not be able to bust. It's not perfect. Technolutions is 25 years old and slate.org is just 8 years old. It's still a baby, right? It's still an elementary school working its way through the process. Technolutions is out of college. So it's up to us to make the change happen by utilizing the platform and advocating for change. It needs more investment, right? Imagine if we could do the thing of easily impersonating access, customizing more things, syncing our organization contacts with slate.org, syncing with other systems, and controlling who can see decision information. All of that seems really good. And we've been able to do some of these things using sneaky solutions, but some of these things should just be easy fixes that we haven't been able to get because slate.org does not have the advocacy that the Slate platform does. Here's an example of something that should be kind of easy to fix, and Julia from Quinnipiac was able to share some screenshots of what the Episcopal Academy's organization contacts view is in their organization contacts and how that differs from the slate.org organization contacts. Some of these people had retired and left and were still in the system as organization contacts, and how that differs from another organization, another institution's view of that same school. So it would be really nice if all of these things could sync together to say, here are active Slate.org users for this school, sync them with every institution's organization contact list as well. So that's one thing that would be really nice to have. So again, some best practices, how to get started, what's that wish list that counselors have? And this list, again, came from Laura, Julie, and Tanya to really understand what they would like to see, as well as that survey that they did. It would be really nice if all colleges were utilizing Slate.org so that they could see all of their schools in one place, allow counselors to upload some materials so that they can do that for you. They can do that for the student, complete applications faster, post the decisions, use good language that's understandable, add important and relevant information on the portal, and just partner with them. Make better connections with your high school counselors. Don't let it be a replacement for that human contact with your high school counselors, but let it be a value add. Let it help you as you help them, as they help students. So again, here's that information from the counselor survey. They want that student information and that student data. And here's more information about what they would find helpful in that slate.org portal. Application material and scholarship deadlines. A lot of information that could be very beneficial. And we did want to shout out just some colleges that we have found that do really good slate.org work. And so Laura put together this wonderful word cloud of all of these wonderful best practice schools on slate.org. So if you're on this list, you're doing a really good job. And so in conclusion, you might be thinking, okay, great. Now what? What do we do now? We have some action items for you to take away. Incorporate slate.org into communication tools, right? Let your counselors know that you're on slate.org and that they can share their materials, that they can review decisions on this platform. It's free to use, so inform them of it. Empower your team, right? Train the admission staff that's going out on the road to say, hey, tell the high school counselors when you're on the road that we're on slate.org and they can submit this material that way. Train them and share these priority items with the community forum. Foster collaboration and just keep advocating. Let everybody know why we should be using slate.org. Your action items, aside from your institutions, is trust has to exist between colleges and high school professionals. And so make sure that you understand exactly what they're seeing. Make those connections with them. Slate.org also has a wonderful community of Slate.org ambassadors that you can connect with and add to your network to ask them, hey, what are you seeing on this platform? Could you show me a screenshot of what our institution looks like? They're there for you to help you support through this journey. And again, collective advocacy is what is needed to improve the platform. So join other conversations, help advocate for this system. And vote, right? The biggest change that comes from slate.org is by showing what items need the most help and need the most support on. So these are some of our favorite feedback posts to upvote on, and we recommend that you go in and update them too. So you might still be thinking, okay, great, all of that sounds really good, but we still don't have time to do that. And so we're going to make it even easier for you all by including the suitcase link. And so here's that QR code that you can use, but also here are the specific links to things like announcing to counselors that you are on slate.org, a sample organization portal that's taken from the Technolution Suitcaseable one and customized slightly for some additional information and best practice, how to display financial aid information, and a materials received via slate.org query. So lots of resources here for you. And as I mentioned, there's lots of information and resources, including those click-through videos from Tanya, all in this Mythbusters documentation here. So please feel free to utilize it at your leisure. And thank you. Here's our contact information. Tanya's is not on here, but we can definitely connect you with her should you like to connect with her. But thank you all so much for your time, and we hope that you utilize slate.org in the future. Thanks, everyone.